critics Jason Bechervaise and the return of Darcy Paquette. Thank you very much for joining us, Darcy and Jason.
That sounds like a bad sequel.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, both of you actually weren't here last week because, of course, Jason was on location in Jeonju, although he was kind enough to connect with us over the line. But it is good to see you guys in person again. Two interesting movies. I'm very curious to see what your thoughts are on this. We're going to start with the foreign film Borg versus McEnroe, starring Mr. Transformers. That's the first reference that came to my mind. This is one of the great tennis rivalries that's being depicted on screen. Tell us more, please.
Sure. It's directed by the Danish filmmaker Janus Metz Pedersen, who has a background in documentaries such as Love on Delivery. It follows the famous rivalry between the composed Swedish tennis player Björn Borg, played by Sverre Godnesen, and the fiery American John McEnroe, played by Shia LaBeouf, who is notorious for his outbursts. The film depicts both their careers through flashbacks, but the centre of the narrative is the 1980 Wimbledon Championships, which saw them play against each other in the final. Rather unsurprisingly, the tension that is building throughout the movie is leading to this point, the great encounter between the then world's two best tennis players, who share more similarities than differences.
You know, I had just realized when you said notorious for his outbursts, you were talking about John McEnroe, the famously fiery tennis player, not Shia LaBeouf. And it's YouTube.
Actually, there are a lot of similarities between both characters. Between the actor and the tennis player.
Now, Darcy, there's been maybe some recent run of tennis films here. How would you compare this to some of the previous ones?
Well, it is interesting to compare them because, I mean, you don't make a tennis movie just about tennis. I mean, typically when you make a tennis movie, it's about something else as well. Or there has to be something else to pull the audience in. And so the recent one that came out roughly at the same time of this was Battle of the Sexes, which is also, you know, based on a real-life, well-known tennis match. In this case, it was in 1973, and the match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And so there was a whole gender, you know, dimension to this, and just a really interesting moment in sports history and also kind of in cultural history as well. And so that movie, you know, came out roughly around the same time as this one. And I'm not sure if they were aware of this when they were planning their respective films. But yeah, and then, you know, there have been others as well, like Wimbledon is one from 2004. I mean, more of a romantic comedy, kind of a working title film. But I do think that, you know, tennis, there's so much kind of psychology in tennis. You know, it's not just about your physical condition and your training, but it's a mind game as well. And so I think it kind of translates well to the screen.
Now, Jason, you are from the UK. We're talking about Wimbledon. I'm not of the country club set like you two gentlemen are, and so I'm maybe not as aware. But I am a sports fan, and my first memory of Wimbledon as a child was Boris Becker and that amazing run he went, I think, in 1985.
Right.
Would you say you're a Wimbledon fan, and how would you compare it to this film?
Oh, I am. I don't watch Wimbledon anymore because it's like football. The time difference is a real pain. It's a real chore, especially, you know, as a father. It's quite tricky to catch the games. But when I was living in the UK, I was hugely infatuated, you know, with the game, and I'd always watch Wimbledon. It takes place in July every year, and you know, you have some of these great rivalries, and this film certainly depicts one of those, the 1980 Wimbledon Championships, and the director really captures that really well. He has a background in documentaries that really shows the film is well structured, executed. And it's really commendable that they didn't cast a Hollywood A-list name to play Björn Borg. You often get this in Hollywood movies where you have these actors speaking in European accents, you know, in English, and it really gets to me. You know, Munich is an example of that. But here, you know, there's English dialogue, there's Swedish dialogue, and it's really well done, I think I would certainly recommend this film. Although the best match for me, I will mention, I will say this, you know, the Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal final in 2008. One day maybe they'll make a film about that.
Yeah, and I think it would be difficult to film this in the sense that the actors themselves have to be pretty up to par as far as their skills and the believability of their achievements on the court itself. I don't know about Korea. If Chung Hyun being popular now because of his recent strong play of late, do you think Korean audiences will connect to this?
Well, certainly it's exciting to see Chung Hyun, rise up, and he does seem to have a lot of potential, but I don't think that this is translated into box office gold for this film, unfortunately. It opened a couple of days ago and it debuted outside of the top 10. If we had a film about curling, then I think maybe that might have done.
That's going to happen. That's a few years later we're going to have.
We had the handball movie. We had the.
We're going to have a movie.
Yeah, we're definitely going to
have curling. Absolutely.
Well, that's something to look forward to, I suppose. But in the meantime, we're going to actually talk about a Korean film, and it is actually, I guess, somewhat indirectly related to a sport as well. The English title is Love Plus Sling. The Korean title is Wrestler. This is a debut director performance by Kim Dae-woong. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, it centers around a former national wrestler named Bo, played by the well-known comic actor Yoo Hae-jin. Years after retiring from wrestling, Bo is a single dad, devoting all his energy to housework and to his son Sung-un, who he hopes one day will win an Olympic gold medal in wrestling. But when his relationship with his son starts to come under strain, everything just falls apart.
Now, the way Jason describes this, Darcy, it must be one of these very intimate, kind of dramatic father-son portrayals?
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There's actually a rather uncomfortable love triangle in this film involving the neighbor who, is the same age as the son. She grew up together with the son, and the son is in love with her, but then in kind of a surprise confession, she tells him that she's actually in love with his father and hopes to marry him. And so, basically instead of wanting to become his lover, she wants to become his mother. And so it's a very complicated situation with a lot of Freudian tension, I guess. And
this Oedipal element to it, I suppose.
Yeah, and in the meantime, the audience might be like me, kind of wondering what's going on here.
Okay, well, this is a Korean film, Jason.
Right.
And I think every Korean film right now is going to try to get some market share, snatch it away from this juggernaut that is Avengers Infinity War. Is this the film that'll do it?
No. If it was any good, it might have a chance, because Infinity War is losing a bit of steam. It'll hit 10 million missions this weekend. It's been a gargantuan hit. But this film is just so bad, that word of mouth is going to be poisonous, I think. And I don't see it hanging around for too long. It'll probably I think it opened in second place, and it'll just tumble further down the charts.
Okay, just briefly, why is it so bad?
It's just got this really, really annoying story, and I just couldn't get into it. You have this father-son relationship, and then you have this girl who's in love with this boy's father, and it just doesn't really work. And then you have the wrestling element as well, and some of those scenes are okay, but actually that's the more interesting part of the film. But it's kind of at the periphery. It's at the periphery. It's not it never gets the attention that it deserves. And some of the characters in the film, like Song Dong-il, he's drunk throughout the whole film. Not the actor. His character's drunk throughout the whole film, and it's just frustrating to watch.
So this is not the film that's going to take down Thanos. Darcy, but it's disappointing because there's a lot of fans of Yoo Hae-jin. He's risen from this character actor to become one of the top box office draws here in Korea. So a bit of a disappointment then?
Yeah, he's been a well-known name for quite a while, and in particular in recent years, he's done really, really well with this comedy Lucky, which did much better than expected, and then Confidential Assignment, which was a huge hit, and then Taxi Driver in 1987. So he's had kind of this golden touch.
But they all hit like a hurdle. They get so popular, and then it's like, okay, then they have a few.
So this
duds.
is his speed bump, is what you're
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard for him to kind of pull this film up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just the material that he has to work with. But if you're a fan of Yoo Hae-jin, you'll probably check it out. But as far as a broader appeal, trying to peel the kids away from getting another viewing of Avengers is probably not going to be the case.
Probably not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen.
Okay, well, on that disappointing note, I think we will have to leave it there. I want to thank both of you guys for joining us. Good to see you again here in the studio. Hope to have you back on again more often. Jason, Darcy, thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
You too. Bye-bye.